Welcome back, everyone. This week, the weekly performance report. Blah, 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 blah. I ended the week down 0.17%. I feel like I'm having a lot of down weeks this year thus far. So I'm not sure if the pattern holds up this year like it did last year, where I have 2 months in the red and then a big month in the green, and then it works well for me. We'll see, because January and February were red months, and it's kind of too early to call it. I think so far I'm up this month, I believe, but we still have a few weeks, so we'll see what happens there. So, on to the names, the things people care about. I don't know, a lot happened. Just see what I can do. I'll just say some things and leave it at that in a superficial, partially contextualized fashion. I actually like reading the conference calls quite often than listening to them, which is interesting because over the years I've kind of gotten away from like reading books. I listen to books, but something about a conference call, I think maybe it's the numbers. I just have to read it. So I think I read the Leonardo DRS conference call. I read the Green Thumb conference call. I'm getting my weeks confused, so I don't know. So Leonardo DRS has a record backlog. So in my St. Joe video that I published, watch it, even if you don't care about the St. Joe company, because maybe it'll change your mind, Don't be a bigot. And the airport by where St. Joe, they donated the land for the airport, it had a record. A lot of records going on, other than my portfolio of returns so far. But, so, record. Then, Leonardo DRS, record backlog. Then, what else was a record? There was another record. Oh, let me scroll through these names. DRS. Oh, Kodiak Gas Services, KGS, records. Record revenue, record this. There'll be the record participant with the CSI acquisition. So, I might have to do a write-up on Kodiak Gas Service. That conference call, I don't know how you can't be bullish. Well, some people weren't, because the stock fell 15% from its peak. It's like, dang. And man, part of me has wanted to add more to it. And I'm not too bothered by the fact that I'm up 43.82% on it. I'm bothered by the fact, number one, I just don't care much about it to make it a meaningful position, so I don't want to. But, man, I locked in a really good dividend. I can't remember what it was. I have to go back and do the math on my cost basis. But it's over. They paid the second dividend, so that's good. They didn't raise it. It's the second dividend ever. the company's only been publicly listed for less than 9 months. And it was mid, like 8.5%, 9%. I don't know, man. It was just kind of cool to get in early on something, lock in that dividend. But of course, maybe things go well for a few years and then these names bounce around. And when we have a recession, it'll fall back down to that price. And then you can just go pick up and scoop up shares with that same dividend yield. But I think it's still yielding a 6% annualized dividend. As I noted in the KGS video, or the KGS article, that a lot of these websites are irritating and bothersome, and if you don't recognize their limitations, then you will be limited in your performance, perhaps, because if you go on certain websites, they'll tell you that the dividend is like 4%, 3.5%, 3%, something like that. And the reason is because they annualize the dividend yield. But the problem is since they just issued a dividend 2 quarters ago, you can't annualize it. Now you could say you could extrapolate, but that's not what some of these sites do. They literally take the last 4 dividends and construct a yield out of it. So if the company's only a lot of bank companies or things like that, when they recently reinstate a dividend and or start a dividend, it will falsely tell you what the dividend yield is. And so that's misleading, but it is what it is. So I don't know. Green Thumb is buying back shares. They did I think another 50 million share buyback. So that's cool. Buybacks are kind of important these days. Thought someone else was doing a buyback in my portfolio. Could be. Oh yeah, Tidewater. I wrote an article on that. So they're doing buybacks. So with out of the way, what did I buy? I topped off positions in Sibanye-Stillwater. I topped off position in Grown Rogue, topped off position in St. Joe, and topped off position in Kinross. If gold's actually breaking out, I just, like I said, I topped it off. So probably, it's one of those things. Gold runs, maybe the gold miners do or don't run, which so far they have been. But 4.5% of my portfolio, so 4.62% of my portfolio Kinross Gold is what it is. So I'm looking on making Grown Rogue a max position. I'm looking on making St. Joe a max position. Then if it falls, then it'll wreck my yearly performance with... Well, I mean, if you look at the concentration of my portfolio, offshore makes up, 24%, almost 25%. Then uranium makes up, what is it? So pretty much offshore uranium, the pot stocks, and St. Joe is the vast majority of my portfolio. So my yearly performance is predicated on those things. And thus far, things have not been going well. So there's that. I thought about just, honestly, I didn't even want to say anything. I'm kind of stumbling and using a bunch of verbal disfluencies, which I don't care for. And I'm tired and I'm making this video late. And so I'm just going to end it here. Here it is. This is what happened. This is what it looks like. Like I said, I'm down another week. 0.17% is what it is. I mean, names I'm fairly confident in. Positions I'm fairly confident in. Oh, I sold Town Square and I sold something else. And that's why I sold it, because it meant so little to me I can't even remember what it is, seemingly. And I took that money and that's what I spent buying stuff with. So that's that. And I cannot remember. Oh, was it Louisiana Pacific? I think it might have been Louisiana Pacific and Town Square, I believe. I think that's all I sold. And then I took some of that money and bought some stuff with it, because that's what you do. So that's that. Thank you for watching, and until next week.